Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Durrani from VG247, and today I am joined by Sherif. Sherif, say hello.
Hello.
How's it going, man? You okay?
Yeah, it's still well, man. How are you?
I'm very good. You have come to me to talk about what you would like to see most in Battlefield 6, the next Battlefield game. Let's kick it. Let's just jump straight into it. What's first on your list that you'd like to see?
Well, let's first recap what we know about Battlefield, the next Battlefield, which does not yet have a name. Like they haven't called it Battlefield 6, so it could just be Battlefield. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
But they've only said that it's going to have unprecedented scale, which that means like bigger maps, more players. That's
Which they're known for.
Which they're known for, but they're willing to push it even further, Durrani, like maybe 128 players, 150 players, who knows?
We're diving into the Battle Royale level of
scale.
Yeah. Level of scale. So what else? What else? Is that all we know so far?
Yeah, they've only said a few things about it in investor calls, EA has, which is stuff like, the next level in destruction, the next level in Battlefield gameplay, which is like a lot of like platitudes that I don't know what that means.
They're basically just saying they're reiterating and evolving what they already have, basically. Yeah. One thing that I do know is that it's coming out on both next generation and the previous gen, so cross generation. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I understand it. That's exactly what they did with Battlefield 4. And I completely see where the cuts will be made. Like, if you're playing on last gen, you're not going to get the massive players, the big maps or whatever. Or if you're going to play on last gen, you're not going to get the expanded destruction. I understand it. Like, there aren't many PS5s and Xbox Series consoles out there. You can't just hedge your bets, just hope people will buy that game.
So you think it's a business move? It's all like 100%. Business? Yeah, 100%. There's no... Yeah. I think... Call of Duty said that they are going completely next gen. I'm not sure. Did you
for this year's game?
Right? Yeah.
No, it's out on both as well.
On both. Okay. So yeah, it's purely business, and it's smart. I'd do the same thing too, because how many millions of players they would lose out on if it was only on next gen. I know people who are still struggling to get PS5s now, to be honest. So yeah, so we don't really know much, but what would we actually like to see? What would you like to see? What's first on your list?
Well, the first thing is just the most obvious thing. It's just the game needs to be like polished on day one. Like you need to.
Okay. Like, what makes you say that? What's happened in the previous games that makes you?
Battlefield just has a history of broken launches. I think that reached the peak with Battlefield 4. Which was like it was broken on last gen consoles like PS3 and Xbox 360. It was broken on PC. I very clearly remember the skyscraper in the China map. I forget what the name of that map was. Crashing servers anytime the destruction revolution thing kicked in.
Oh no!
I remember people asking in chat, "Stop blowing the thing up." Because if you blow up the skyscraper, the server is going to crash.
I feel like whoever joins that map, everyone needs to just be on the same page. Yeah. No one blow this skyscraper up, please.
It was terrible, but it was like you could understand where people are coming from. And on next gen, it was also broken for a while. It took them months to really rein it in and polish it. It had problems with netcode. That game was a mess.
Yeah.
Battlefield 3 was similarly broken, but not to that extent. And then I feel like they turned a corner with Battlefield 1, which was the most polished game they have ever made at launch.
Yeah.
And then Battlefield 5 came along, and then they kind of dipped back into the well again of like, this is not here. This is not working as intended.
I think it's getting really hard you're seeing a lot more releases for these big multiplayer games just fail. They're just not going well for a lot of games, especially I want to bring up things like Apex Legends, for example, where they would release a massive update, something that's highly anticipated, and no one can play the game on their intended release date. It's like, oh, okay, so what are we what's going on here? That's just a server issue. But I think the polish you're talking about is more like some of the janky stuff that's going on in the Battlefield games. As long as they can fix it, it's always good. It's good if they get to the point of, okay, these bugs are not happening anymore. But
I think like you're gonna have bugs anyway. Like it's like a game as complex as that. If you're shipping on 5 platforms and like people are working from home, it's just gonna happen. It's just a reality.
Ooh, I didn't even think of that. Working from home.
Like, look how many games came out this year that were broken at launch.
Yeah. Oh no.
It's gonna happen. My thing is, if it's gonna happen, just limit it to superficial or like things that are, oh yeah, this is kind of broken, whatever. All the functions of like the mechanics, the vehicles, the weapons, and all that stuff, it needs to be like top notch. It needs to be like the way Call of Duty is, the way all big shooters are. You don't think about it. Battlefield, you have to think about, oh, this is broken. Oh, this is not here at launch. Oh, this is, and I think they just cannot afford to release another game with sections on it that say coming soon, like they did with Battlefield 5.
Oh yeah.
I just don't think it's just like, come on, like with
Agreed.
Warzone and Call of Duty now doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think you mentioned Call of Duty, that Call of Duty and Battlefield were always separate. They were always separate for the longest of times, and they still are. But the innovations that Call of Duty has made are really gonna. It really applies a lot of pressure to Battlefield, I think, because we're going to speak about it in a moment. But things like just having Battlefield always had, oh, look at these reload animations, and it was more realistic. It's more close to real life, and then Call of Duty was more the arcade style of things. But now Call of Duty just has everything, and the game feels tight. Everything feels crisp when you play it. So I think Battlefield definitely they've.
Yeah, Battlefield used to be the standard for so long. I think since Bad Company 2 or maybe BF3, where like people would just watch like the videos. Like I remember the single player video they put out for BF3 before multiplayer was shown, before anything was out there. People were just fucking gifting that thing. They were like, "Oh, look at the how well the animations are synced, like the character movement and stuff." And Call of Duty was out there doing like dolphin diving, like Black Ops 2 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like a generation apart.
Yeah.
And they pushed it a little further with BF4, and then a little further with BF1, and then they kind of plateaued. And then Call of Duty was doing its own thing, and then along came Modern Warfare. And my God, like the animation team there, the character work there is just, again, a generation apart from everything that came before. So they kind of took that away from Battlefield. And I think DICE needs to like look at that and feel challenged. Just like, no, we're going to take this back. People are going to come to us for like weapon feel and weapon animations and like the presentation of like the gun.
Competition is healthy. Competition is healthy for these sort of games to thrive. So players get a better experience every single time when you're doing these games so frequently. It needs to change. Things need to improve. But so it needs to be polished. Is there anything you want to just add to that before we move on to the next section?
They're just the front end stuff. Like I think Battlefield is the only game that lets you wait several seconds when you hit the quit button. Like you could load up Battlefield 5 now or Battlefield 1 and then hit quit on PC and then just see how long it takes for the game to allow you to go back to your desktop. And it's just
you can't even rage quit in Battlefield. That's what you're saying.
Dude, the only way to rage quit in Battlefield is if you just Alt F4 it, and even then, it will take a little bit of time.
Why is that? What is that? Just like a poor optimization?
You could call it that. Like the Frostbite engine is not known for being very optimized. It's always like pushing technology forward and like at the forefront of like the things that it can do. And the menus of Battlefield games are always so dense. Like Battlefield 5 like has like people walking around and animating and like there's like some depth of field going on, and so like you're loading a game within a game, and at some point it takes time to load all that shit up, and it's like I get it, but like I don't need to see like all the cool dudes walking to the camera. I'm like, I get it, but
it's better than Battlelog. These menus that we have now are way better than Battlelog. Let's just say I just installed it. So I just installed Battlefield 3. So I'm just going to inform the people listening. Just installed Battlefield 3. And I had forgotten that this was ever even a real system. Battlelog, where you load up, you click on Battlefield 3 on Origin, and then it boots up your Google Chrome. And that's how you manage the game. That's how you go into. That is the worst thing I've ever seen ever. It felt horrible.
It wasn't a great solution, but I have to say, if we're talking like purely practicality here, it's still the fastest way to get into a Battlefield match is that thing, because it's a browser, and browsers are so fucking fast. They don't have to load any other guff. You're like, oh, I have my favorite servers, go. And the game is just loading in the background. So yeah, even though it was like a weird solution, and I remember a lot of outcry at the time.
Yeah.
You compare this to Battlefield 5, where it's like every menu has to fade in and fade out, and it's like letting out like a frame rate that's not even your frame rate. And it's like, oh my God, like just get me in it. Come on.
No, I definitely agree. We're looking for the balance, the happy medium between simplicity in the fact that we just want to join the game and the complexity of it being something that is supposed to be new. It's supposed to look nice as well as you're doing it. So what else? What's next on your list?
I just want to talk about like Battlefield for a little bit. Like what makes Battlefield Battlefield?
Okay.
Which is really, I think this is what they need to focus on the next game. I feel like every couple of years they get pulled into so many different directions with like gimmicks and like headline features. It's like, oh, Battlefield 4, Revolution, Battlefield 1, Behemoths. It's like stuff
Revolution,
that looks...
by the way, really. So I'm going to interrupt you there. Revolution was awesome. Just when I first saw it, I was like, oh.
It looked amazing, much like Behemoths. It looks amazing in trailers. It looks amazing the first couple times it happens, but because it's so scripted and manufactured, it's like, okay, dude, come on.
The novelty wears off really fast.
The novelty wears off. Whereas normal destruction doesn't get old, because normal destruction is you have player agency in that. You have like emergent moments. The game doesn't tell you what to destroy and what to, it's free flowing. Whereas something like Revolution, there's only a very specific way the skyscraper is going to come down, and one of two states will happen. It's either up or down. That's it. And I think, that stuff kind of pulls them into too many different directions, and they lose focus of what makes Battlefield. Just slow it down a little bit. Like, just give me simple classes. Engineers can repair. They can take out vehicles. Done. Medics can revive. They can heal themselves and others. Done. Like, it's just an immediately very visible and easy to understand structure for these classes, and the rest of the game just follows on from there, where it's like, oh, this is I know what this is without having to read or watch a video or a tutorial or whatever.
So we want more simplicity and focus. Not simplicity, but just focus on the main parts, because as you said, when they're putting all their focus into these once a game events, it's like, as in once a match, sorry. So the skyscraper falls down, but the rest of the gunplay it's not terrible, but there's definitely room for improvement. Is that what you're?
Absolutely. And I think that stuff again looks good in trailers. I understand why it happens. It's a headline thing, but like at the end of the day, we need to focus on the core experience that people are going to be spending the majority of their time with, and not the like dumb thing that you did for a trailer.
I think, just like a little side note here, you said it's a headline thing. I think maybe I don't know how to say this, but I think Battlefield struggles with player retention quite a bit. It doesn't keep a lot of its players. So I think as long as they can bring people in to sort of buy the game and be like, oh, skyscraper's falling down. Look at this huge behemoth coming into the map. Oh my God. It's like, as long as they can capture those players' attention for the first month, I think they're going to continue to keep doing these like gimmicky things. In terms of like going to the class thing that you mentioned, the classes are just so strange. They feel so limiting sometimes, so correct me if I'm wrong, so you have weapons specific to the different classes, right?
That's right.
So that's what it's been, right? That is so annoying when I just want to use any weapon I want to use, but still be a medic. I still want to be a medic. I still want to serve the purpose of picking my teammates up. I know that would introduce some like balancing issues, but I don't know, man.
It's like that stuff. You're either gonna come out like one way or another in this stuff. I completely understand where you're coming from. They also need players to focus on playing the class, and if they give you the best weapon as a medic and the ability
Yeah.
to heal, you're not going to pay attention to fucking teammates. You're
Yeah,
good, man.
healing yourself.
And
Yeah,
have the
it's
best
true.
guns. So they
Yeah,
need to like, no, you have shitty guns so that you stick to teammates, and maybe then they do the shooting for you.
yeah.
I get it. Like that stuff is like, this is
Balancing issue.
yeah, the nuances of Battlefield. I don't know what they will do. I honestly, if it makes sense within the game that they're making, like if they're making a do whatever you want, man, and it works, I'm cool with that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. It's just in my experience, usually, if you limit players, they tend to stick to these limitations. Some people are going to be pissed off, of course, because they're not using the favorite guns. But that's the balance that you have to figure out.
Yeah, there's always like a good gun in each class, but I would like to see some improvements to the class system. Just maybe just a little less convoluted. I don't know. It's something about the class system feels weird. But so for you, what makes Battlefield feel great? Then I know you said you want them to focus more on the gunplay. Mm-hmm. and the other things apart from the gimmicks, but can you specify anything like in particular where you think, oh yeah, this is Battlefield?
Battlefield to me has always been like Destruction, of course, from Bad Company onwards, has been like a main pillar of that thing. So obviously Destruction needs to be there. But the main thing with Battlefield has always, to me, been combined arms, which is tanks moving alongside infantry, getting cover from helicopters or jets. And then getting a point and pushing and reviving, and like the tug of war that happens, that to me is Battlefield. And the way you get there, if you get there, was like whatever, like 5 classes instead of 4 or whatever it is that you have to do. I think this needs to be maintained at all times, and I think they know that. I think they need to, because like if you try to make a Call of Duty on like limit vehicles, or if you try to expand the role of vehicles at the expense of infantry, anytime you try to push it like into either direction, it kind of falls apart. So just focus on like, just go load up a random match of like BF4 or BF3 right now, and then translate that experience into a next-gen game. And it's like, okay, I get what's happening here. The specifics can be tuned and changed, but the main thing is combined arms, destruction, scale. Like that's Battlefield.
Okay, I agree. That's definitely what sets Battlefield apart. Do you know what? I have always been the player who completely ignores vehicles. I've always been that player. I've always been more of a gunner. I'm not so much. Let me hop in a jet. I've got friends who will get a plane straight away, like run straight to the plane and just be flying around the map the whole time. And I'm like, yo, is this Hawks? Is this you're playing Microsoft Flight Simulator? What's going on?
Yeah, dude, like 100%.
And you know what? I think that's so cool how Battlefield players can have such varying experiences depending on how you want to play, you know. And I see a lot of people who love to do the let's just blow up all of the vehicles. I know it's kind of like, oh, you just weave those sort of things into your gameplay. It's like, oh, there's a tank there. Of course, blow up the tank if you've got the equipment for it. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's nice how you can. It has a lot of room for variety. With Call of Duty, it's pretty much the same experience every single time. It's laser focused on gunplay. With Call of Duty, definitely the gunplay feels.
Yeah, and it's just like any other like class-based shooter. You're not meant to play every hero in Overwatch or Apex Legends. Like it's okay to have 2 that you main because the other ones are weird or like the abilities are not. That's fine. Like that's absolutely fine, and nobody complains about that. And the Battlefield is the same. It's okay for you to play jets once every 25 games and not be good at them and not level them up. That's fine. You're not meant to like play every single thing in the game. But they are there for people who like those things, and they are there because they add to the overall picture.
Personally, Battlefield has its place. There's so many things that definitely make it great, and I feel like it has a lot more memorable moments as well. I feel like I can always think to a time where something's happened when me and my friends are in a squad, because literally everyone. So your team is comprised of what, 64 players normally, right?
Well, 32 and 32.
32, 32. But where your squad and the other squads on the team, everyone's playing a different game. Literally, everyone is playing a different game. You might be all on the same team, but everyone's playing a different game. People are on different parts of the map. Some squads are sniping, some squads are far up, some squads are in the middle. That sort of positioning where everyone's just doing their own thing, and like your squad is like, it's like self-contained. And I can remember so many moments of my team. It almost feels like a film where you can like,
Yeah, dude.
you know, like when you watch like Ubisoft trailers and they're doing like the game chat when they're doing like a
The fake,
show off.
yeah.
The fake comms. There's been so many moments where that just comes out naturally, but it sounds so organic. Like that sort of like comms, like, dude, look out! I don't know. It's nice, man. Honestly, Battlefield. I know I don't play it like for as long as I should when they do release, but when I do, I definitely have a blast. All right, let's move on. What's the next one on your list?
Let's talk about variety a little bit.
Okay.
I think to me the gold standard for variety is BF3.
Okay.
That game, by the end of its life, maybe not at the start, but by the end of its life, you had really solid close quarters map. You had Grand Bazaar, Sin Crossing, goddamn Metro. You had
such a good map.
you had, maybe not on 64 players. There's only so much shooting in a corridor you can do in Battlefield. You had these maps that are really focused on like the close quarter experience, and the gunplay really served that up. But then you move on from that, and then you have Caspian Border, you have Firestorm, you have these big maps that they seem from a completely different game, but somehow still work really well, still fit, and still play amazing. And then they really doubled down on that with the DLC. You had really micro destruction stuff with the game's first expansion, and then they expanded on that was like Endgame and Armored Kill. And then they moved on, like the last one they did is Aftermath, which is a post-apocalyptic thing where like scavenged vehicles and like just weird themes and experiences that you have never seen before in a Battlefield game. And I think by the end of it, you stand to look at that like, man, this is like a lot of variety here. You could completely just play close quarter maps and not give a shit about Caspian Border or those maps. And then someone else could just only have Armor Kill on rotation. Yeah. And all of these existed in harmony. And I think if Battlefield 6 or the next Battlefield were to like borrow from that, I wrote about this earlier this year, but if they were to like learn from that and say, we can cater to two groups of players as long as we may like keep a few things consistent. It's a hard balance to do, but I really hope that you look at that and learn and not just have, it's new content, it's new maps, but how is it interesting?
Yeah. So are you saying that it's the DLCs that are what give it the variety, and you want there's that sort of variety that happens once all of the DLCs are out for a Battlefield game, for that to be how it is on launch with Battlefield 6?
It's kind of both. Like BF3 was kind of split down the middle at launch. Like I think half the maps were like close quarters and the other half was like big maps. They could do this at launch if they wanted to. But I think the DLC just gives them an opportunity to be experimental and like really push into areas that the main game may not cover. And I think they could really work well for them, because if you think about it, a lot of players, I assume, are going to be coming from Call of Duty and Warzone, and those people are used to a gameplay style that may not be very Battlefield. And then you have the Battlefield fans who have been like waiting for a big Battlefield game also. Maybe they could coexist like they did in BF3 if you just have both things good enough or like done well enough for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think variety wise, I can't really speak on the variety too much here, I'll be honest, because as I said, Battlefield, it comes out and I enjoy my time with it. I really, really do. But by the time the first DLC is here, I'm gone. I'm playing something else, and that's a shame. Because I feel like, of course, there's always a theme. The game launches, it has a theme, Are we going to World War II? Are we in modern day? Are we in just like, slightly ahead in the future? There's always like a theme it launches with. And then, as you said, they experiment. And I'll get to play these when I sort of like jump back in sometimes. My friend will be like, oh, you fancy playing some Battlefield? I'm like, I guess. I guess this is like months after the game's release. I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll play some Battlefield. But I don't really get to see the variety too much. But
so you're looking for a more robust like progression system for that game to keep you coming back, and like a
yeah. I think the base game needs to be a bit more solid. It needs to offer a bit more. That's what I would like to see. We did speak about this earlier. One of the things that I would actually love is for them to just modernize and realize that these sort of live service how would you say it? These live service elements to other games, battle passes and these progression systems, they're okay when they're done right. And I feel like just those little things, you play a match and then you come out into the lobby and you've got a skin, you've got currency, you've got maybe some XP to level you up, level up one of your classes. Those sort of things would be awesome to have, to just keep me playing until the DLC drops. Basically, that's what I would love to see. That is definitely number one on my list, because other games like Call of Duty, oh my god, why can't I think of any other shooters?
Apex Legends, yeah, of course.
Call of Duty. No, I'm trying to think of like non battle royale ones. We should actually speak about that, to be honest. Speaking of variety, the last Battlefield did actually have a battle royale. Yeah. What do you want to say? Good look on your face right now. What do you want to say? What's it called?
It was called Firestorm, Durrani. I played it for as much as I could. It wasn't good. It had a few things going for it, and the funny thing is, you look at that and you look at Warzone and some of the things Warzone lifted from that game.
Yeah,
and it's kind of sad that if EA had really put some muscle behind it, it could have really done.
It could have been something.
Yeah, but
EA has a perfectly good battle royale in Apex Legends, so they don't need this Firestorm. I think that's what happened. And I've on the research that I did do, I see a lot of other people saying the same thing as well. Why would they double down with a Battlefield BR game mode when EA already has Apex Legends? So, and it's doing like unbelievable for EA. So, and I think they would have to make the battle. If they do another BR, it would have to be free to play, because these business models, they've got it on lockdown. And back to the progression system and yada 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 chat, but the microtransactions, they could learn a lot from things like Call of Duty. They do misstep quite frequently and try and overcharge people to see how stupid we can be and what we'd actually pay for. But they definitely should try it. And I know you don't hear people say it often. Oh yeah, bring some not paid stuff, but it's a more robust progression system that rewards players.
Yeah, I think if you have like a good, solid, consistent stream of free content, I don't think anybody's going to complain that there's a $20 gun or a $20 like character or whatever.
Yeah,
people do that. Like Call of Duty, look at it, it's like every 2 months there's like a 20 gig update, new maps, new this, new that.
Yeah,
Battlefield has always had a slow cadence. So like if you're if you want to hit the ground running on that stuff and like, oh, here's a new map, here's a new thing, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
and give us a little money for this. Like, I'll be happy to pay that money. I know this like upsets a lot of people, but like it's just the reality of it. Like you're either paying for this, paying for map packs. So which is it?
It's true. I think that's a whole discussion in itself, like microtransactions and how the ethical side of things, how they do it, how like players receive battle passes in general. But that's a conversation for another day. Anything else you want to add about variety before we move on?
No, that's it.
Yeah. So we want more variety. I'd say on release, but we want Battlefield 6 to have the same sort of variety that Battlefield 3 done. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. What's next on the list, good sir?
The last thing for me is Conquest. We were talking earlier about like Battlefield being Battlefield. Conquest is kind of part of that. Like it's part of the core Battlefield
signature.
Yeah, it's a signature mode. It's the thing you think of when you think of Battlefield.
Yep. I think of Rush.
Rush is cool, but they've been neglecting Rush for a while, Durrani. Like I don't know if you like Rush is kind of like a footnote now, where it used to be Bad Company, like the premier thing.
Because they've got what's the newest Operations?
Operations,
Yeah, so they've evolved into it. Yeah, sorry, go on. So Conquest, what happened? What's going on with Conquest?
Here's the thing about Conquest. All right, Conquest, I feel like, operates on a gentleman's agreement, which
Okay.
is if we all pretend to play the game, which is capture flags, leave them for the other team to capture them, and then we go on and recapture them and just play for this flip flop until one
Yep.
team wins, everybody's happy, right?
Yep.
The minute this agreement breaks and people are like, well, if I have 3 of the 5 points, I don't need to capture anymore. I'm just
Yep.
sitting here, I'm happy, I'm sniping, I'm doing whatever. You get a scoreboard of like 150 to 0. That's what happened, right? And as long as you have people who are like, oh, we're just playing Battlefield. I know I'm going to lose the point that I just captured, but just play the game. And I think the reason for that is because there aren't any strategic values to the different points. So it doesn't matter if you have B or C or E or whatever. As long as you have the majority and you're not really dying, it's fine. Like, it doesn't really matter. And I think they need to rethink Conquest, especially if you're going to try to convince players to move what I'm assuming are massive maps, right? If you're 150, 128 players, these maps are going to be massive, like almost at the size of a BR map. And you want to convince, someone to say, capture the point on the far east when he's on the far west.
Just like, what's the point?
Like some points, I'm just going to capture the one close by. I'll get the same points. So they need to have like some sort of events or assign some strategic value where, okay, if you do this, you're going to have air control for a while because you're going to prevent the other team from spawning, jets or helicopters. Or you're going to have at this position like an anti-air or like a helicopter which gets your team 2 instead of 1. You know what I mean? Like, just have something where people can fight over points and not over XP. You know what I mean? And I think, they need to look at that and have like some value.
I think I agree. I agree with that. But Conquest has always seemed like that game mode where, do you know, as you said it, you're actually so right. I'm just thinking about it again, what you just said. You are so right, where you just sort of play the game mode. You don't really you're not trying to even win. You're not even trying to win. You just play the game mode. I think that's actually a good thing, that it just sort of works. But there's no, it's like, play the objective is what everyone always says with Battlefield, play the objective. But no one really plays the objective in Conquest, man. But, so, correct me if I'm wrong. This is me being super naive here, because I did play the operations, but my memory might need some rejogging. So operations was, what was operations again? One more time.
Operations was basically Rush. It was basically,
but it moved up the map, right?
Well, Rush moved up the map as well. The only difference between the two is that in Rush you could, you had your MCOMs, you could blow one and then maybe struggle a little bit with the second one and then blow it in advance. In operations, you needed to hold both 2 or 3 points simultaneously. So if you captured one and then you captured the other, nope, go try again. And then you had to, so it came down to a lot of like really embattled squads trying to defend, because if the capture thing hits that point and the other team has both, done. They move up a sector.
Yes. Okay, so what do you prefer out of those two? They have a point to this at the end, but what do you prefer out of operations and Conquest?
I kind of like both the same. I think operations debuted with BF1, and they had like the soldier screams and cheers as you're pushing up and down these objectives. It really gave it like a scale and a feel that Rush didn't have. Rush felt like Counter-Strike. It's a very mechanical, like, we have to get the thing destroyed so that we move up the thing. Wherever when you add like the sort of the spice of like the call-outs and the soldier screaming and all that music swelling, it's like, holy shit, I'm part of something bigger than myself. So that's why I think I kind of like operations a little bit better, but they're kind of both the same. Like, they're, if you really
kind of both the same. So my point I'm trying to make is, do we prefer when they sort of, do you want that? So how operations is sort of an evolution to Rush? Can you say that? Is that a valid thing to say? So and then so Conquest needs something similar, where it's the same principal game mode, but it just needs something else. It just needs
Conquest 2.0. Like, you need to I don't know what it is. It's just it needs to be about more than just capturing flags and getting points, because they keep trying
Yeah.
every year to be, oh, we're going to ramp up the XP payouts and make it more valuable than kills.
Yeah.
But why do I have to capture more than what I already have? Like, okay, I'm not
Yep.
interested in the XP. I'm just going to revive players and shoot.
And I think the fights always just take place in the middle, wherever the middle flag is.
Yeah.
That's where that's the only flag you're really fighting for. Then it just turns into just king of the hill, basically.
Yeah.
It's just king of the hill. I agree. I definitely agree with that. I think there needs to be some innovation in the game modes. Nah, I've got nothing else to say on that one, to be honest. Did you have something else to add to that?
There's one last thing. This is like a funny. I don't even. It's not core to the experience, but if you remember, if you played Bad Company 2 and BF3,
Yeah.
soldiers had really funny quips and battle chatter and callouts they would make.
Yeah.
You could go look these up on YouTube. I'm sure there's like a compilation of all of them, and they were incredibly funny. They would break the tension of the moment when you're getting. I'm shooting. I was like, some people are dying, and then someone said, "Oh, it's a cocksucker with a machine gun," and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And stuff like that, where you're like, and they even had it was different voice actors doing the different classes.
Yeah.
So even without looking, you would know, oh, that's a medic to my left.
Yeah.
Because he has this specific character, and it's like little moments like that inject character to these like faceless character humans
classes,
and these classes, right? And it's amazing, and they have they exist in BF1 and BF5, but because of the serious tone of the game, they've kind of been like more there's an enemy over there. It's like
yeah, okay,
but it's not it's not a cocksucker with a machine gun like that. You hear that, you're like, okay, I'm playing Battlefield 3.
Do you know what? I totally agree. I feel like they should, but sparingly. I feel like that thing you said about operations where the music's playing and you hear the cheers and it feels like you're in the game, it feels like you're part of something bigger than yourself. If you just randomly heard someone off to your right going, let's go get those motherfuckers, something really weird, it would definitely break it. But maybe once a match you heard something just a little bit cheeky or something a little bit silly, it would definitely add to that. Just sort of, this is a game at the end of the day, isn't it? It's a game. I feel like sometimes these games where they're like hyper realistic and we're trying to be in the army and in the military, and it's just like, yeah, but we're also playing a game, and I kind of just want to have fun sometimes. And I get what you mean, man. Definitely, I like to hear and see some of the silly call outs and quips come back. I did actually have a bonus one, but we actually covered it earlier on about the progression. But that is about it, really, with Battlefield. I think whatever gimmick we could say, or their flagship feature is this year round, it's going to be impressive. I feel like it always impresses. It definitely always impresses. I just want it to be in a modern setting. That is it, really. That's all someone say. If it's just Battlefield 4.5, then we're we're in for a good time. And I agree. I want it to feel like a new game. I don't want it to feel like Battlefield 4. I want it to feel like a new game. I want the animations to be tighter. I want the gunplay to feel smooth. I don't want things to feel clunky. I feel like Battlefield has always had this clunkiness that you had to learn. Sometimes, like in the earlier Battlefield 3, it feels like there's no weight to your guns. The recoil is all over the place. I'm still excited just because of the name. I can't say I'm excited because I've seen anything of it, but I'm excited because Battlefield, they make good games.
Yeah,
Battlefield is a good series.
It's hard not to get excited about Battlefield, even if you don't care about Battlefield. Just to look at like the visuals and the destruction that they're doing.
Insane.
It's hard not to look forward to that stuff, and I really hope a lot riding on it, and EA knows it. I think they have everyone who can work on Frostbite doing Battlefield stuff. So that and FIFA. So if like EA knows it, and I hope they really deliver, we're gonna be in for a really good one if they do.
Nah, definitely. All right, we are excited for Battlefield 6, or it's not even Battlefield Redacted. What it's called just yet.
What if it's just Battlefield? What if it's a spiritual reboot? What if it's just Battlefield?
I would love that. I think it sets them up perfectly for next gen, because I think the next one after this, there's no way it could be on previous generation. There's so much potential in like the PS5, the Xbox One X, and the Xbox Series
X. They got you.
And S. The Xbox Series X and S, and the way PCs are going, there's so much power to be tapped into to get like awesome visuals and awesome like fidelity, and new technologies that are just coming out to help bolster that as well. So yeah, Battlefield Redacted, we're excited for it. Make sure you read our articles on vg247.com. Subscribe to the channel as well. I am Durrani, and
I am Sherif.
Oh yeah, take care everyone, see you later.